Okay, this is Vald'Isère skiing and snowboarding on the Atari Jaguar. And, well, as you can... Oh, that's not a good start. As you can tell by the title, it's a skiing and snowboarding game set in Vald'Isère, which is a skiing resort in the Alps in... I think it's in France. And this is the point where... Ooh, clipped him. French speakers will say, Dave, you've pronounced it wrong. And I suppose with Jaguar, the point where American viewers will say, Dave, you've pronounced Jaguar wrong, but please feel free to correct me. This is a really good game. I think with a lot of Jaguar games, whilst graphically, well, technically impressive in some ways, they sometimes lack a certain fun factor that is there in the Mega Drive and the SNES, but this game, and I think it might just be the lineage because it's based on a SNES game. I'm not sure if it's a sequel or more of just a remake, but it's a lot of fun, and I suppose the graphics really take a... Oh, bollocks. Let's try that again. Right, I'll try a different track this time. But yeah, I think with a lot of Jaguar games, the first thing you see on them is the game's visually impressive, and you know, the gameplay is almost a side effect, as hard as that sounds. But this game's a lot of fun, and you tend to notice that you tend to ignore that the graphics are good. You just... Well, it just zips on by so smoothly that you're really just concentrating on the game and ignoring how visually good it looks. I think the only criticism is, I know that the tracks have got all these undulations in them and hills and things like that, and it looks impressive with it's almost like Mode 7, but there's a lot of white in the picture, and I suppose in the video I'm not sure how well it'll come out. This is where I look down at the camera and not where I'm going. But there's not a lot of variety in it, and I suppose you occasionally cross ice or rivers and things like that, but most of the time you're really just skiing on white snow, and you're not really looking at the track, you're looking at things on the side and trying to avoid skiers and fences. I'm not very good at this. I remember when I first bought it, so this would have been around 94, 95. I got all the way to the last slope and I just can't do it. Yeah, I remember when I first bought this. This would have been... I'm originally from near Sheffield, so at that... Thank you very much. And the only shop that really sold Jaguar games was in Meadowhall. It was bizarrely a shop called Silica, which used to be a mail order company, and I'm not sure why, but they had a little outlet in Debenhams in Meadowhall, and really not sure why, but they used to sell Jaguar games, and I remember going back every week or so and seeing what they'd got new, and they'd got some of the early games like Evolution Dino Dudes and Alien vs Predator and Tempest 2000 and Wolfenstein, those kind of games, and Doom as well. And I was looking for something new. Oh, bugger. Oh, this is a weird thing. Listen to that riff. If you're a fan of the 90s Megadeth albums, it's the same riff to High Speed Dirt from Countdown to Extinction. I remember listening to that when it first came out and I'm thinking, that sounds really familiar, and then I went back to the album and thought, oh yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, I remember going back to the story, an old man waffling in his old age, oh crap, and not skiing very well, and I remember going back to the shop and thinking, they've got no more games, and you go back and say, when are they getting more Jaguar games? And with the Jaguar, it was always a case of dangling the carrot. You know, Atari's releasing more games, they're coming out, these good games are coming out, and you'd wait and wait. And I remember just waiting for months and nothing would come out, and I looked on the shelf and there was this one game and it had this really colourful box and it was Val D'Isere. And I'm not really a snowing or... snowing? This is me trying to concentrate on the snowboarding. Yeah, distractions. Waffling. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of skiing and snowboarding too much, and I thought, well, there aren't any other games, so I'll just give it a try, and I've really enjoyed it. You know, all the years later, I think if you're looking for a fun game on the Jaguar that's not just a really glorified tech demo, then this is a really good one to have. And it's quite polished as well, because Jaguar games often felt like they were programmed by one or two people, and they were less concerned about making a polished product. You can often tell by some of the title screens, they look a little bit rough and ready, like programmer art. I mean, that's not to knock the developers. I'm sure it was... Well, I mean, the Jaguar was incredibly hard to program for, and I'm sure that they wasted a lot of time trying to get used to the hardware. But this game just feels like, well, it's fun. And I think that might just be a side effect of it being based on the SNES original. Although I've never played the SNES game, so I'd like to see how that plays at some point, because if it looks half as good as this, then that's really quite impressive. Because Mode 7 games, as I've laboured the point on earlier videos, they're really good at projecting and rotating a... Ooh, speed up. A flat plane, but they're not very good at hills. But this does it really well, and I'm thinking back to Cliffhanger on the Mega CD, but I don't think that looked as good as this does. So ooh, crashing. Yeah, this is why I never took up snowboarding, so I think I'd break something, which is not fun. Ooh, a little bit of variety. Oh, what the... Right. Ooh. Yeah, these hills are just bizarre. They're really quite disorientating. And this is going really fast. You have got a brake button. I'm holding B down at the moment, which is accelerate, and you've got this... Oh. If I'd have kept straight, I'd have been fine. But you've got the A button, which is tight turn, and you've got a brake key. Oh, brake button, rather. Trying to avoid all... That's really weird. You think having this high-speed slope and you've got all these skiers that are just wandering around. I'm thinking back to the snow over the last few days, and I'm thinking I really should go sledging, but I think my experience has been spoiled a little bit, because as teenagers, a friend of ours, his dad used to have a garage, and often he'd scrap the odd car, and he'd have these car bonnets, and he'd loan us one to go sledging with. And what we used to do was all get on top of this bonnet, and you could probably get 3 or 4 on the bonnet, and just go down hills and over jumps. And I remember just, well, being on it, but also being a spectator, and all you'd see is this cloud of you know, whipped up snow, and I'm thinking, I'm surprised any of us managed to keep our fingers after that, because it's dangerous. I think we just managed to all hold on to something inside rather than the edges of the bonnet, and we're all fine. But that was just fantastic. I really should get back into that. Not on car bonnets though. Or maybe I should. I don't know. Oh, blimey. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Okay, I've reset the game through the magic start and hash combination, which sounds wrong. Yeah, so this is skiing and snowboarding on the Atari Jaguar, and I think if you're looking for a game that is a little bit different and something that's perhaps more fun to play, and maybe more like a Mega Drive or a SNES game in the way it feels, then I think you'll enjoy this. I think graphically it is good, and it's certainly as impressive as any of the scaling that you get on the Mega CD, but, well, you don't care when you're playing it, and I think that's a good sign that, you know, the graphics really come second to the gameplay. Right, I think I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching.